Welcome to Off 63rd with Garrard McClendon. Tsunamis and nuclear scares in Japan, bloody political protests in Africa and the Middle East. How can you help? Also, union busting in Wisconsin, Walmart commits to the South Side, Jalen Rose calls Duke University players Uncle Toms, and Bill Cosby has choice words for Russell Simmons. Get ready for fireworks. We have three of Chicago's sharpest minds tonight, and as always, we expect to hear from you. This is Off 63rd, Chicago, from the beach to the burbs. You're watching Off 63rd, and hey, you can call me right now. Phone lines are open, 773-487-3630. Thank you for joining us tonight as we wrestle with issues spanning the globe and around the corner. We're also on simulcast at WKKC.FM and 89.3 FM. Tonight, we have a dynamic trio at the table. First, we have celebrated and highly recognized defense attorney during the Rod Blagojevich and R. Kelly trials, protege of Eugene Pincham and his father, Sam Adams Sr. We've got attorney Sam Adams Jr. with us tonight. I'm pleased to welcome a brilliant person who had the audacity to pick a fight with Garrard McClendon recently at a forum. She's a political action committee chairperson and full-time history teacher at Mason Community Links High School, Stacy Davis Gates. Welcome. Also, new school media writer and commentator. There's a new young African-American Republican in town, host of Launching Chicago on WVON Radio, Lenny McAllister. Welcome to Off 63rd, you three.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, let's rumble tonight. The phone lines are open. We're going to go from macro to micro. I've got my little list here. We're going to talk global, national. We're going to talk about Chicago, and then we're going to talk about some specific individuals. Let's talk about Haiti and Japan and some of the political unrest that's taking place in the Middle East and in Africa. First question I want to point toward Stacy Davis Gates. When it comes to world events and how they affect the individual here in the United States, what do you teach your students when it comes to Haiti and the recent tsunami in Japan?
Particularly that the plight of poor people globally is very much the same as it is here in Chicago, as it is here in the United States. And so we have to find those common strands and look at basically how many poor people are there in the world in terms of have-nots, and then how many haves are there, and how is it that we are still have-nots? How is it that we are still in the situation where we have not unified in such a way that we ask these powerful questions and then unite for action?
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you said that, haves and have-nots. I want to move to Sam Adams Jr. here. American policy towards international disaster. What should be our modus operandi when it comes to sending help to other countries? Should we do that at all? Is it a policy of ours that we should keep? What do you think, Sam?
Well, I think definitely. We have to realize that we are growing into a global economy. We're also going into, when you talk about areas of human rights, civil rights, which is what I particularly have my practice in that area. But I think we have to start looking at the world and saying, America, if we're going to maintain our position as the big brother, if we're going to maintain our position, we have to look at, like what she said, with the have and the have-nots, and understand. And not only is it important to help them because they don't have, it also is going to help us here. There are global markets out here where young African Americans on the south side of Chicago can open up markets in China, open up markets in Japan. If we're going to stay ahead of the game, there are 1,000 different areas and businesses in education that can be looked at in Japan. Just take Japan right now with the tsunami. Now, there's probably 10 or 1,500 things that can be done there that young brothers and sisters on the south side of Chicago can get into, start developing to not only help Japan, but start bringing that economic stimulus here as well. Look at Mexico. Mexicans come to this country, work hard, and send that money back. There is no reason we shouldn't be doing that ourselves.
You know what, Stacy, Sam, I'm glad you opened things up. I want to go to Lenny McAllister. Lenny, what should we do with crises that takes place abroad? Should we care, Lenny McAllister?
We absolutely should care, and what we need to do is look at investment opportunities, look at economic opportunities, and look at opportunities to build bridges. Sometimes crises are the perfect opportunities to look at a situation, see where the relationship was previously, and then make adjustments accordingly. It's amazing that we're talking so much about Japan because our grandparents would not have the same views about Japan that we do.
Wow.
So if you look at the 50, 60 years since World War II, they're an ally of ours now. We feel for them. This is one of the biggest disagreements we've had with Japan since World War II when it comes to the evacuation zone. Otherwise, we've done trade, we've gone back and forth, you've seen Japanese cars here for 30 years now. Yes. There are opportunities to do the same in Haiti. What can we do to build that bridge and to build wealth, not just here, but in Haiti, so that we can have another ally that overall we don't have to worry about so much economically for the long term?
You know what? It's interesting that we get to these we are the world moments when something tragic happens. I'm going to take Sue on the phone lines right now because we've been talking about Haiti. Sue, thanks for calling off 63rd with Garrard McClendon. Sue, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, what's is what happened with the Katrina in New Orleans and the earthquake in Haiti. The black people were demonized, saying that it was their religion, they believed in voodoo, or they were bad people, and they deserved it.
Sue, thank you so much for the call. Do people in these countries deserve this? Of course they don't, but why are those lies perpetrated, Lenny?
Well, we haven't escaped that. I mean, we have the Guilford Gottfried situation where he got fired from Aflac. We've seen the inappropriate tweets from 50 Cent. We've heard some of these things as well said about Japan. Now, the trouble is, because of the already shady reputation of the Haitian government from time to time with some of the leadership problems that they've had, as well as, let's face it, we're looking at Japanese Asian folks versus the descendants of Africans. So whether people want to realize it or not, or admit it or not, there is a tinge of racism to some of that. Now, of course, it was very explosive after the Kanye West statement from 2005, where that got interjected with the Katrina statement. But you're always going to have somebody say something that this is God's retribution without realizing that God's a merciful God, too. So Japan, this situation with the earthquake and tsunami was not without somebody saying some extremely inappropriate things as well.
Yeah, you know, go ahead, Sam.
I'd like to also say, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything of that nature, but you also have to take a look at the economics behind a lot of this. Necessity is the mother of invention. And you're going to have a lot of your corporations, take BP, you're going to have a lot of your national organizations that can go into an area such as Haiti, and now that Japan is going to be devastated, you watch how many corporations are going to go there, and things are going to be cheap for them. They can buy, and in 15 years from now, you're going to find Japan on the top, and Haiti in a lot of areas will be on the top because the corporations moved in, they decimated an area, kicked out African Americans or kicked out the native Haitians, and they've built themselves. Cuba's going to be next. You watch. Now that Cuba's going to be opened up, you watch and see how many casinos run down there and open up Cuba. You watch and see how many of the corporations open that up, and it's going to be primarily the corporations that are headed by whites in the community.
This is interesting. It's almost as if it's some sort of economic necessity, or not necessarily conspiracy, but a form of global Darwinism of sorts. I mean, for a tsunami to hit Japan like that, for disaster to take place in Haiti, for us to have a Katrina disaster here. Before I go to phone, Stacy, talk to me.
Well, you always have a situation where people who already have the means to capital can capitalize in situations like this. They also have a network of people, whereas it makes it easier for them to raise capital, obtain the expertise, and to make these things happen, whereas we're still trying to figure out the means to get these things done. And particularly in a place like Haiti, where you have a depressed economy, a challenged school environment. So you have people who are always in the need of charity and don't necessarily have opportunity. And so we tend to, those of us who have, we tend to see that as an opportunity. However, the disadvantaged often remain disadvantaged, and we don't empower.
I'm so glad you said that. Well-spoken history teacher that you are. It's so interesting that the victors write the books and tell the story. The victims never get that opportunity to even buy the printing press or the ink. Hold tight, Lenny. I'm going to take another phone call here closely. I want to talk about gas prices and a spoiled United States next. Let me go to the phone lines with Frank. Frank, thanks for calling off 63rd. Frank, talk to us.
Why are gas prices so high in Chicago than other areas? And when will gas prices go down?
Thank you so much, Frank. Interesting. I'm not an economist. I do watch the barrel prices pretty much on a daily, if not weekly basis. But he's right. California and Illinois have these exorbitant prices for gas. Anyone want to jump in on that?
It's very simple. We tax gasoline in Chicago more than any other place in the country. And all those tax monies, during this last election, I wanted somebody to stand up and say this. If you look at the Daley administration and the taxes that were placed on gasoline, and where that money is spent and gone to friends of the Daley administration. We never find it. We never see where it actually is spent. But every day, those of us who have to commute, those of us in the communities that have to get to work or get their kids to daycare, we're paying the highest taxes in the entire country on gasoline. Now, we've got to address this problem, or else we are never going to be able to get out of the rut and the economic disadvantage this city has.
I see you, Lenny. You know what frustrates me about living in Chicago? You talk about a $100 purchase being over $110 because the tax is over 10%. And of course, we had the Strozier Wars and we've got Preckwinkle in the mix now. But to have a tax rate that high is bordering on ludicrous, if not violent. Lenny, talk to me.
Well, they're playing the supply and demand game, considering that we have the third highest population in the United States here in Chicago. You look at California, you got LA out there, you have San Francisco, you have Oakland, you have Sacramento, you have other cities out there. So it's the supply and demand game when it comes to these oil prices that unfortunately we are privy to. Now, the question really comes down to this. What can we do as Americans where we're not so reliant on issues in foreign lands, where unfortunately many of our young people have to perhaps die for wars that they don't quite understand, that are based on economy, not truly based on freedom. It may be based on freedom in some aspects. You look at what happened in Egypt and other countries, but for every one of those, you also have to question, is it a matter of liberty or a matter of economy when it comes to why the United States flies over to the Middle East every time you turn around?
You know what, we're going to shift gears here just slightly and talk about the spoiled American here in the United States. I think we all are to a certain degree. And let's talk about unions and Walmart. What really interests me with organized labor in this country is that there's this war now in Wisconsin and Indiana that says, we want to keep organized labor. We want collective bargaining. There's the other side that says right to work. Doesn't really matter what we pay you, but right to work, which fundamentally means right to fire or right to not hire. I'm going to open up with the woman I love to argue with, Stacy Davis Gates. I'm your friend today. I've got my boxing gloves off. Talk to me, Stacy.
Thank you. I think it's very important. First off, I would say that the standoff in Wisconsin, which is obviously no longer a standoff, has galvanized unionism and union members across the country in a very positive manner. It has also given opportunity for education to the average American, to the average student, of the history of unions in America, the foundation of the middle class in America, and quite frankly, one that hasn't been explored a lot is the foundation of the civil rights movement in America in terms of labor as well. So I think that those are very positive gains from this debacle. Another one I think that makes sense is when you say spoiled Americans and you use unions at the same time. One thing that I think has not been put across most effectively is that the average pension is $26,000 a year. And here in Illinois, if you're receiving a pension, you're not going to receive Social Security because you're not paying into that. So we have to really and truly speak about the practicality of the numbers, not about the propaganda that they have to pay their fair share and that taxpayers are sick of being taken advantage of. I'm a union member and I pay taxes. So I don't understand the argument there. And to also balance the budget from working people's pockets consistently. while also providing business huge tax holidays, breaks, abatements, and gifts. Balance is the key.
Yeah.